what I'll tell you about my creative team and the way I build my team is I try to find the smartest and best creative people, probably try to get people who are smarter and better than me, which is what I believe I have on my team, right? I want to work with people who are excellent in what they do.
So to get started, we have a lightning round where I'll ask you 3 questions, and we'll look for quick answers to those.
Okay.
So the first one is, what's one book that really changed your life?
The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. That book is just, I've read it quite a few times since the first time I read it. I think it's just amazing language, great story, makes me feel really emotional, which I think is just the success of a great book.
Favorite social media follow?
Letterboxd, great account, fun, exciting. I think the way they bring the celebrities in to rate their movies is fun, and just the marketing they've been doing lately, constantly showing up on my feed, is just exciting and interesting.
It's great. And my last question for you is, what's one thing that people might not know about you that you're willing to share?
Yeah, sure. It's actually, I went to culinary school in my 20s, and at night while I was working still as a marketer. And so I love to cook, and my creative outlet is through cooking, which is something probably a lot of people don't know about me. Yeah.
It sounds like a big benefit to your friends and family.
Yes, it is. It is. I'm a vegan, so I use my culinary skills to make really exciting and interesting dishes now for my friends. Yeah.
Thank you for those answers.
Sure.
So we'll move into the next part of our time together, which is a little quiz show we call Fake 50-50. We call it Fake 50-50 because in a real 50-50, usually there's some sort of amount of money that you might win, and you keep half of it, and half of it goes to charity. Yep. In our game, 100% of what we have here today, which is $100, will give to a charity of your choosing.
Great.
So I'm going to ask you 3 questions in a quiz style and look to you for the answer. So
okay.
The first question that I have for you is, what percentage of Americans have a life insurance policy? And I have answers that I can to pick from 3.
Okay.
Is it 32%, 42%, or 52%?
Okay, 52%.
That's right. Okay, next question for you. This is a true or false.
Okay.
Life expectancy has increased in the United States every year since 1970.
False.
That's correct. It's false. The life expectancy had increased every year up until COVID, and then it started to decline, and it's gone down ever since. And the last question I have for you is that there are a number of property and casualty insurance companies pulling out of a particular state. Do you know which state that is?
I do. It's the state I live in, Florida.
And do you know a little bit more about why they're pulling out?
Yes, it's because Florida is the highest percentage of in claims. Is that right? I think it's close to 80% of property claims in the country.
So great, you got 100% on our quiz today. So $100 will be going to a charity of your choice.
Yep.
Which charity would you like us to donate to on your behalf today?
For sure, which is great. Thank you so much. I would like to choose a charity called Room to Read. It is a charity around literacy, so I would like to choose that one.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So kind of moving on and jumping into the marketing content we're here to talk about today. You work in a highly regulated industry in financial services. Yep. Compliance is a significant factor in what you do. At the same time, you're working on developing creative content, new ideas. How do you balance the tension between maintaining compliance and following those regulations and coming up with new, innovative, and creative campaigns?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've developed a very strong relationship with our compliance team in our organization over the course of the past couple years specifically. We work very collaboratively with our compliance team and our legal counsel as well to ensure we're bringing them in at the beginning of the creative development stages to run ideas by them, make sure early in the conception we're showing them ideas, having them weigh in and make sure those ideas are strong, not only creatively, but compliant as well, right? So having those early, having them in the process early really does help down the road to make sure that we're bringing not only compliant copy to the table, but also creative copy. So I think, it also helps to lower our SLA times, right, at the end of the creative process, so that we know compliance been along with us for the ride. So at the end, when the creative's been developed, when we submit to the compliance partners, they've seen these things along the way. So our SLA times at the end for approval are there. There's always going to be push and pull with compliance because we're a risk-averse company, but knowing you have an open line of communication from both sides, they can call us anytime they want, we can call them anytime we want, that just makes it much easier to move through those challenges.
It makes sense too. I would imagine that it helps the budget efficiency of these processes too. So you're not developing creative and having to go back again.
Yeah.
So early in that process, if you come with a set of ideas and you take it to legal and compliance and they say for some reason this isn't really going to work.
Yeah.
What does that process look like then, going back with your team and keeping them engaged and encouraged?
Yeah, there's always the excitement around, okay, then what can we do to get new ideas through the process? So I think the most exciting thing for us to do in our creative department is develop new language that we haven't seen before that compliance will say yes to, right? I mean, really, that's always our goal, and we will geek out over copy that we've never seen before, that we can get our partners on board with, our compliance partners on board with, and that's most of the time our goal, and beautifully written compliant copy.
It's a fun challenge
to
think about.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you any templating? Are there parts of that creative process that are templated and components then where you do kind of inject that creativity to? And does that help with the compliance and regulation process?
Yeah, I mean, we have some, I would say, like lists of do's and don'ts, you kind of want to stay away from or lean towards. Try not to do that too much because it does start to narrow the scope of creativity.
And I suppose you mentioned that you have good relationships with compliance, with legal. What did you do? Has it always been that way, I guess, is my first question. And then if not, what have you done to either maintain those or to get to build those?
Yeah, and no, it hasn't always been that way. Just spend a lot of time talking to them, right? I mean, it's all about relationship building.
And so one question I have for you in this whole process, can you think of one or two times that felt like a really big win for you and your team when it came to rising to the challenge of creating new copy?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, I can say even just last year, we went through an exercise where we took 24 terms from a business resiliency sense out of our direct mail kits, and that were compliance, I would say, like watch outs. They knew they were coming up they were kind of risk adverse terms, and tested out of them. Actually, not just direct mail, they were across multiple channels. It's a huge win for our business, right? And it was exhausting, I think, for my team and for our marketing partners and for compliance to go through this test and learn across all of these terminologies, but it was a great success. And in some cases, it was more than neutral wins. We actually won by higher percentages. So it was a really great, exciting moment for us.
That's great. 24 terms is quite a few to work through, and especially when the audience is used to hearing things a certain way. So you have to figure out how to rephrase it so that they're still understanding what you're trying to say. Yeah. And so it's great to hear that at the end of the day, it actually lifted some of the responses. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a few times about being in a risk-averse environment, risk-averse company, and that kind of leads to my second sort of set of questions regarding AI. there's a lot of controversy and thoughtfulness about how companies are using AI.
Yeah.
And TruStage has adopted a more conservative approach to that.
Yep.
Wondering if you might be willing to elaborate on that position.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking a thoughtful approach, right, to how we're introducing AI within our businesses. It's interesting because I think, we are definitely looking to see what the future might bring for our organization. We have a team of experts within our business working on what we could do within our closed environment. And I do know that there are some advancements coming within that space to see what we could do from a closed environment within TruStage, which seem exciting. But I think we're definitely slower to adopt the technologies than other companies are, and I think that's okay because we're doing it thoughtfully for the protection of our customers and our business. And it'll be interesting to see as we're introducing some of the things that are coming in the forefront for our business, what that will mean for our different departments and how we can utilize it. Yeah.
So much more of a focus on human-generated creative and copy and content.
Yeah.
Do you find that is that something that you're talking to your customers and you're about, and is it resonating with them?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely exploring what those types of things could mean in the future, and could it be something we explore? I think there's just a fear for our consumer specifically on how that affects their experience with our brand.
People like to work with people.
That's right.
And that empathy piece is really important.
Yeah.
So taking a thoughtful approach is probably resonant with a lot of people who are interested in
Yeah.
connecting with others.
Yeah.
And so thinking about that people-centered approach, you lead a team of over 40 people.
Yep.
They're spread across the United States.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear from you a little bit about how you lead and manage a centralized creative team when they're dispersed. Like, what are some of the approaches, I suppose, just to get started, that you take to make sure that you're encouraging, motivating, providing the direction people need without feeling like you're in every single detail?
We meet daily in the morning, our whole team, to have a morning meeting to discuss, first of all, what projects are coming into the queue and challenges. We kind of have like a hybrid, agile approach to our work. It started during COVID, where we started meeting daily because we didn't really know what was going on, right, when we all went remote for the first time. And after we came back to, well, we didn't ever come back to the office, but we started kind of business as usual. Everybody really liked the idea of continuously meeting first thing in the morning, and we never stopped doing those processes. So yeah, we do daily meetings. We have sort of an agile framework and methodology within our approach to the way I run my team. And it really helps us collaborate and, to see each other at the beginning of the day, make sure anybody has any roadblocks, any challenges, or any wins that we want to share. And it does help us connect to each other. That's sort of our first touch point. We also have just really great documented processes and metrics. So I think those kinds of things are very helpful, and roles and responsibilities, which are all really helpful in aligning the work and ensuring everybody's rowing in the same direction. So, I think those things are the ways that are keeping us doing the work and ensuring we're getting it done.
And when you think about the team overall and then its role within the organization, was your creative services team always centralized in this way?
No.
And so what was the process like to do that?
Yeah, I mean, this just recently we just centralized the marketing organization. So we're still kind of new in that transition, and it's been really fun. It's been really exciting to bring the B2B, D2C, and enterprise organization together to fulfill the One TruStage vision our new CEO has. It's been really, really exciting, challenging, all at the same time. But learning, having our teams come together and learning each other's work and style has been, it's new. It's still new, right? It's been only a couple months together, but it's been awesome. And I think the team appreciates so much more to be able to see the B to B to C business versus everything being in silos. So when we're working on something in D2C where we're talking to the end consumer, now we understand how the business side speaks to the credit union about that same product. So opening up those kinds of connection points has been really valuable for our creative team specifically, understanding what the entire journey of that product is through the B2B2C chain has been really amazing and extremely valuable, I think, for both sides of the creative team. So we're really starting to make connections that we've never made before. And I think even as we continue to work together and really work in different ways, where more of those kinds of aha moments are going to happen.
Are there things that you have specifically changed? So that makes a lot of sense. There's the B2B, and then there's folks that are speaking to the consumer. Seeing that journey now coming together from start to finish.
Yeah.
Are there specific ways that you communicate or materials that you've changed when you've had that aha moment to say, oh, this is what it looks like from end to end?
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to think about messaging, right? Differently. So far, that's what my team has done. From an enterprise standpoint, we're starting to look at, me and my peers are starting to look at strategically how are we going to look at things differently. And I think that boat will be longer to turn. From my team's perspective, we're starting to look at messaging differently. We can change what we can change, which is, hey, how are you speaking to the credit union? I should be speaking to the consumer the same way, or vice versa. So we're making those tweaks where we can at that level, and then as I'm talking to my new peers in the marketing organization, we're starting to say, okay, how do we take that up a level to the strategy, and how do we, little by little, we're going to just continue to make those changes up the funnel.
And have there been ways that you've helped the team that works with you and your direct reports integrate into these other marketing areas that have worked well?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Again, like when you think about, we've worked on, for example, we've worked on, life insurance in the D2C space for so long, but never really understood how we talked in the B2B, how the business has talked about life insurance to the credit unions. And it's just been, we didn't have the visibility there. So I think the way I've been doing it in my team is we've been starting to cross pollinate the people who do the work. So if you work on B2B, well, maybe now you're going to work on D2C, and now, so we've been doing some of that. I think we're thinking about just the structure of the marketing organization as a whole from the business standpoint, and there's just work that remains to be seen how things flesh out there.
So thinking about that, when it comes to structure and team leadership, how do you make a decision when it's time to hire or maybe outsource something and bring in a strategic partnership with an agency or another partner?
We're looking at a tiering structure, and so some of it is based on that, where a tier 1 project, the amount of time, the strategic imperatives there, the goals of the project, that's where we'll break off who we need to engage within from an agency or internal standpoint. Yeah.
And when you think about managing those relationships once they're there, what are some of the best practices you have in place for managing the strategic partnerships with external partners? Because I imagine your business is complicated, your marketing organization's integrating. How do you immerse those partners, and then how do you keep them engaged in doing the work that you need through the process?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I came from agency, right? And so I think really having a strong partnership with your agency is extremely important. Having an agency who is just a sort of like another arm of your in-house agency is really important. And having just maybe a small handful of subject matter expertise agencies that work with you and really understand your business, I think, is very important. Agencies, my goal is to onboard an agency, to understand your business really well, and continue to almost treat that agency like they're an employee, right? I do think those kinds of partnerships are really important. I'm extremely transparent with my agencies, as you might know. I like the agency relationships that are too salesy or trying to hide something, right? Like I just want the agency to be a partner, 100% invested in our business, because I don't think you're going to get a great product if the agency's not as invested in your business as you are.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're saying transparency, directness,
Yeah.
authentic, real partnership is what makes for those relationships to be successful and productive.
Yeah.
Are there other tips that you might have, either on your side as you think about how you lead your team and work with an agency,
Yeah.
or maybe also tips for agencies on what they can do to be good partners
Yeah.
for your company and companies like TruStage?
The way I tell my team to interact with agencies is visibility, give context, ensure you're bringing the agency along for the ride. The more information you can give an agency, the better they're going to do at the job. Don't hold anything close to your vest, right? Like those are things I think are really important. If you don't give it information, you're not going to get good work. And I would say the same for an agency, right? Like ask enough questions, make sure you understand the brand, make sure you understand the project. If you don't get enough information, ask questions. So I think those are all the things that are really important. It's all about communication. Yeah.
That's great. I suppose as a final question for you, are there any other topics or things that we might have missed in our conversation that you feel like would be important to know about being an excellent marketer or leading a creative team?
What I'll tell you about my creative team and the way I build my team is I try to find the smartest and best creative people, probably try to get people who are smarter and better than me, which is what I believe I have on my team, right? I want to work with people who are excellent in what they do. And I look for like a rounded team, right? And fill the gaps of the team I have to have an extremely diverse and well-rounded creative team full of the smartest and best creative operations folks and creative execution folks. So, if you're building a creative team, look for like the best, smartest people who can teach you. I feel like I've been in this industry over 25 years, and I still learn from the folks who work for me every single day, which is the greatest. That's why I love my job. That's my advice to people who are building a creative team.
That's excellent advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here with us today. It's been an excellent conversation.
Thanks.
And I know you're from Philly, so was there
Yes.
anything that you did that you really enjoyed about being back here in Philadelphia?
Well, I ate great vegan food because Philly's the best food city. I love Philly. I absolutely love Philly. So I wish I could have been here longer and gotten to the museum, but next time I come, I'll go there.
Next time.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know I've learned a lot and excited for those who are listening to hear all the wisdom that you had to share. If you want to follow us, Electric Kite, you can find us on LinkedIn and Instagram. And Beth Anne, if people wanted to follow you, where will they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn at Beth Anne Mandia. You could also follow TruStage on Instagram at TruStage or on LinkedIn as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been great.